All right, guys. I just recorded a quick thing for you here today, quicker, I guess, because there's a chance, as I've already mentioned, that I'm going to be called out anytime to head to the doctor in Washington. So just wanted to have this ready for you just in case. But I know I've told you a couple of different things, but as of right now, we're going to push everything quiz test-wise. It'll actually be next Wednesday. I mentioned Tuesday yesterday, but forgot that we, in fact, do not have school on Monday. So it shows you how far I'm thinking ahead. But no, yesterday where we were finishing up as we were talking about the whole nature versus nurture argument and, you know, who ultimately is going to like gain control for like battle of how your personality is formed by the time that you're 18. And I had you guys list what we call the agents of socialization, your school, your family, your peers, and putting all of those things in order at different times when as you're growing up. And I said, you know, some of you guys, your top four may stay the same, and then there may be some of you who that top four just constantly changes. I mentioned, I think at least a fifth period, you know, I think Dane and Dylan would mention that, hey, they have always had family at the top. And then we've got Daisy, age 10, but, you know, when she was 7 years old, she was ripping TikToks left and right. So you can see the influence that some of these things are going to have on different people at different times. But that's the whole nature versus nurture argument. And basically, as we're kind of going through the slides, the mass media, this is pretty simplistic. Most of you already have an idea about what this is. But basically, it's just the whole idea that all of the things that you are going to see, whether it's on television, whether it's on a screen, whether it's on a computer, how are they going to influence you? How are they going to influence your behavior? How are they going to influence how you think? And basically, they're going to say that, you know, by the time you hit those tween years, that you guys are just consuming this stuff hours and hours a day, you know, to the point where you see these statistics on the screen. You know, you have about an average of 900 hours in class per year at school, but people, you know, spend, you know, you look at your screen time, and that's just on your phone as far as, you know, how many hours that you're going to spend in an average year, you know, consuming these things. And how that is going to play a big part in who you are, what you believe, how you act, and the things that you are going to consider normal. And, you know, the term right below it, we talked about that back in psychology, but how even in sociology, they see this whole desensitization of your society, how every generation, and not just every generation, but every part of every generation becomes a little more desensitized to violence in the media, and how, you know, I mentioned back in psychology, when if you would hook up an MRI to your great grandma, your grandma, and your mom, and now you, and you would measure emotional things, whether it's violence, whether it's love, whether it's, you know, whatever you are seeing on the screen, and basically, you know, if you and grandma are watching a movie and you see somebody get shot, grandma's going to be way more horrified than you are. And same thing's going to go with maybe, you know, a scene where there's a lot of love or there's a lot of romance. You know, grandma might be, it might tug at her heartstrings a little bit more than it does to yours, because we consume so much media that we've become desensitized, because we see so many of these things. By the time you're 18 years old, you see so much killing, you see so much violence, you see so many aggressive things, but you also probably see things, you know, quite frankly, that people in past generations did not see because of your access to social media. So desensitization is a real thing. Now, there's going to be good and bad sides to it, and I always tell the story, especially, you know, on the very next slide. I remember back in 2011, the seniors were gone on the senior trip, and it was 10:30 at night, and one of the things that I did is I was watching baseball on ESPN. My wife was gone, and they mentioned that President Obama would be addressing the nation at like 11 o'clock at night. And I thought, that is wild. There is something going on major if Obama wanted to talk to the country at, you know, that point in the evening. And basically what I did is I flipped my my laptop open at the time, and I found out basically before even the president was going to address the nation that the guy who masterminded 9/11, Osama bin Laden, was dead, and that the United States had the body. And basically, by the time Obama addressed the nation, he only gave the country about a 15-minute head start, like, hey, I'm going to be talking to you guys. But by the end of that 15 minutes, everybody in the United States knew what was going on. And I know you guys, this is 12 years into the future, but I can't understand. I can't help. I would love to help everybody understand what a big deal this was 12 years ago. It was the biggest story in the United States since 9/11, and everybody found out about it almost instantly. Now, the other side, you see these pictures of, Trump with his mom and dad in Klan outfits, and then you see the next picture. No, it just looks like a normal picture, and then there's one right after that where it's Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden, and man, they were just ripping Bernie Sanders back in the 2020 presidential campaign, basically saying he was a socialist and he was going to ruin America. And, all of these things are going to be circulated. And there was this big this big thing in 2016 and then again in 2020. Did, quote unquote fake news, did it influence people? Did it influence an election? And is this a good or a bad thing? And basically, if you look at what we would call the functionalist and the conflict perspective, that's what they talk about with you guys and what you guys have to deal with and sort out every day. The good side of the media and everything that you're going to consume, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, or whatever, is you're going to get news faster than you've ever got it before. I mean, the days of your parents waiting until the nightly news or to get the morning newspaper, that is gone and it is never coming back. But the conflict perspective basically says that, hey, when something fake is spread, you hear Trump say fake news, but it's gone both directions. But once the toothpaste is out of the tube, it's really hard to put back in. And all you have to do is show people something fake once, and then you're not going to be able to convince them that the real story is true. So yeah, what I'm saying is you guys have probably seen videos on Instagram and TikTok that are completely bullcrap, but you believe them. Or it takes a lot of convincing from somebody to convince you that what you just saw is not accurate. All right. So that is the good side and the bad side. You get stuff fast, but the bad side, it's wrong more than it's ever been before. All right. That's the mass media. That's what you're dealing with. Now, the next thing is schools were on the list. And, I've got a quote, and if anybody wants me to explain, the whole Mark Twain situation, the DeCourcy family, we have exactly one quasi-famous ancestor, and it is Mark Twain. Real name Samuel Clemens. My grandma, that was her maiden name, so it is on my dad's mom's side of the family. We've got the whole thing, the genealogy traced back out. But, that's another bonus quote. So I've got two bonus quotes in here for you guys on your quiz. Of course, one from Hitler and then another one from Mark Twain. But the quote says, "Don't let school get in the way of your education." And basically, here's what sociologists are going to say about school and how you were influenced. And yes, I think at Bar Eve, by and large, and, I know a lot of you guys have not been a lot of other places, but as somebody who's been out and seen things and has worked other places, I think the percentage of people here teaching, administrative, I think the number of people here that care is so much higher than anywhere that I've ever been. But what a sociologist would say about Bar Eve is for a student coming in, even with all of the things that we offer, and even with the amount of teachers that do give a crap about you guys and care about your well-being and success, what a sociologist would say is the most important thing that you guys are going to get out of school, it's always going to be the debate, the written curriculum versus the hidden curriculum. And basically what they're going to say is the most important thing that you're going to get out of school does not come from a teacher, but it comes from everything else. What you learn in the cafeteria, what you learn in a locker room, what you learn in passing periods. If you're an athlete, what you learn in practice. If you're a band member or you're in the music department, what you learn in those situations. And basically how you, like it says, how you deal with authority, how you form your impressions of other people, how you form opinions, how you solve problems, how you avoid conflicts, how do you, all of these different things, they're going to say These are the most important things that you learn in school. And if you've heard me say, if you've heard other teachers say, hey, school is nothing more than an exercise of doing what you're told and moving on to another task, that's basically what sociologists are saying. They're going to say that what you learn in school, they call it the hidden curriculum, is way more important in almost every instance than the written curriculum, because you are picking up life skills, life lessons, survival skills. You know, some people call it street smarts. You're picking all of that up in a school day. But these are the important things that you're getting, you know, during your education from the time that you're, 5 or 6 years old till you're 18 or 19. And that's going to be how schools are going to influence and impact your behavior and who you are. And, always 22 Jump Street, one of my favorite movies, basically of all time, but that really is going to dig in. It's going to dive into the whole element of, hey, what's the most important part of school? And then, obviously we talk about how family is important early in everybody's development. There's no doubt about that. Almost all of you guys yesterday in your answer, you put family as number one when you were about 7 years old. But then you start seeing, when it comes to, your parents and your peer groups in schools, and basically how starting, in that magical kindergarten, first grade age, you suddenly start spending 3 times as much time with your peers and with your teachers as you do with your family. So that's where the gap, and that's where the situations, and that's where the order starts changing a lot of times. And, I know you guys get hit up a lot of times about peer pressure is this and peer pressure is that and peer pressure is bad. And basically what sociologists are going to say, and what you're looking at right now, is for the most part, they're going to estimate that about 80% of the time, interactions between peers, if you've got a choice to make, whether it's positive, whether it's negative, you're almost always going to do the right thing. Peer pressure is actually a good thing. All right. And then the last thing where we talk about, the importance of the family. And just one more thing that we need to talk about is the type of socialization that you're going to get in the family, and how families are constantly going to engage in this battle of what we call intended versus unintended socialization. Back in the day, there was this great commercial on television in the 1980s, and it was a dad catches his son and he's got like cigarettes in his room. And the dad's yelling at the son, and the son's yelling at the dad, and he's emotional and crying, and the dad says, "Where did you learn how to do this?" And the son says, "You, Dad, I learned it by watching you." And it was just the corniest commercial ever in the 1980s. It was a drug, anti-drug, anti-tobacco PSA. But basically what they're getting into is the battle of what goes on at home, and it has been going on for generation and generations and generations, is what is the ultimate process of socialization when it comes to the family. And you guys have probably dealt with that too. What your parents tell you versus the messages that you get. We're going to tell you not to cuss, and I'm guilty of this just like almost every other parent. And then the next thing you know, you get mad and you're talking like a sailor. Do as I say, not as I do. Intended versus unintended socialization, where children are told one thing, but how they are just constantly in a state of confusion almost, because parents, like myself, are going to give mixed messages. And which of those messages is the kid going to take and use when they get the chance? What they've been told, or what's been modeled to them and what's been shown? And that's what intended versus unintended socialization is. So anyway, that's what we got for today. There's another little thing on Google Classroom for you guys, but just wanted to get this out for you in case I do get called out here in just a little bit, or if this is fifth period, I'm already gone. Hey, here it is, and you've got it in your grip. So anyway, when we come back, we will review on Tuesday, and your quiz will be on Wednesday. Catch you then.